So what was it that made you want to run the Boston Marathon?
The Boston Marathon is a storied and difficult marathon. It is basically a brass ring for any runner. Any marathoner pretty much wants to run Boston because you have to qualify for it with another marathon first. So you have to be a certain speed. You're not slow if you're running Boston unless you paid a lot of money for a charity bib. So that was the motivation. It was always on my to-do list for running goals.
Okay, and what was the race like prior to the bombs going off?
The race itself was phenomenal. Prior to running the race, I try to keep myself calm and non-obsessive, which is counterintuitive for a runner. Runners are very obsessive by nature, but I try not to get too excited about the race because I wanted to run a decent race and I wanted to finish the race and I wanted to have a great experience there. So I didn't want to get too excited. So I got to the starting line basically worried about getting into my corral on time so I would be there when the gun went off, and I barely made it. So once we got rolling, it just washed over me, and it was amazing. The people were loud, excited, and they were interested in me, even though they didn't know me. I had an I Love Boston shirt on, and they would say, "We love you too," and they would say, "Go Boston," and things like that. And it was unreal. It was like being in front of a crowd of fans.
And at the time of the actual explosions, where were you, and what kind of shift in the scene was that?
Okay, well, it was a huge shift, as you might expect. I was in front of a school bus getting my gear bag from the very nice race volunteer inside the bus. When you run the marathon, you put your sweatshirt or pants or whatever that you want to put on after the race into a bag, and you put it on a bus. And it drives itself to Boston from out at Hopkinton, and then you pick up your stuff when you're done. It's great. So I was picking up my stuff, and I heard this very loud noise, looked to my left, and a very thick and huge mushroom of whitish yellow smoke came up above the buildings, down the block and around the corner, and I knew obviously that was the finish line area because I'd been through it 15 minutes before. And I had no idea what to think, except for very, very briefly thinking it was a Patriot State cannon, which it obviously wasn't. So,
And you had a friend running the race. What were your thoughts for your friend?
immediately, "Where's Lisa? Is Lisa done yet? What's going on? I hope Lisa's not over there." And again, there was no label to it because nobody knew what it was, except pretty much deep down you do know. I did know, but certainly after the second bomb went off, I knew. But I wanted to go back that way toward the finish line and get my friend. I wanted to make sure I knew where she was and that she was done, and I wanted to collect her and be on my way. But there was no option to do that.
So where were you taken after the bomb went off?
After the bombs went off, we were forcibly told to move down the street away from the finish area and away from the gear check area. People who weren't to the gear check area, the gear retrieval area, when the bombs went off, weren't allowed to get their gear until after, I think it was at least the next day or the next 2 days. They had to go back and pick it up. So I had my stuff, I put on my sweats, and I had to move out of the way. First they said move, and then they said run. And when you're being told to run, when there's a cloud of smoke behind you, that doesn't add up to anything good, that's for sure.
What would you say if you had the chance to speak directly to the city of Boston?
I would thank the city of Boston. Thank you for being there for me and all of the runners on that day, both as a marathoner running the best marathon in the world and as a traumatized person who's in the middle of a tremendous crisis. Be yourself and get stronger and better, because it will happen and we will all support you. Just be Boston strong.
And what would you say to the men responsible for the bombings in Boston?
Well, to the one who's left, I would say, I don't know what happened to you in your life. I just feel very, very sorry for you. it absolutely breaks my heart to look at a 19-year-old boy who's a year older than my son, or anyone, and be able to comprehend that someone could actually do this. I'm just sorry that you went down this path, however you did, and that your life is basically over.